Okay, we are recording, and it is kind of late, so hopefully I can get through this kind of quickly. But yeah, so Yaira number one in the omnibus here. Jen and Sylvia Saska writers, Deborah Carita artists, Taego Gomes and 137 Studio as inkers, Jay Brown colorists. Then the group of six, just like smaller credits there that I've been skipping over. So after being told to go away and never return, the Accept, known only as Yaira, has reappeared, but this time in Flora's Park. Who she is and what she wants is veiled in mystery. After clashing with Avery and dropping him from a height that would kill a normal man, this was in ISOM 1, Yaira must now escape the Alpha Core. So that basically just sets us up to just that happened in ISOM when she's introduced. Now what's going to happen? The letter introducing it is the longest one thus far, which I have no complaints about. It's just now that the font size is smaller than we've seen with others, but it is by Jen and Sylv. Is how it's actually there versus Jen, Sylvia, Saska. So, yeah, I said you can try to be a little quick here. She was already shown to be pretty powerful back in ISOM, but you do need to remind people of that. So, we've got Avery is on top of the taxi cab. Braxwell is tending to him, looking at him, all that. So Solari and Ingrid are going to go after Yaira. I'll be honest, after dropping, it seemed like in ISOM they were at rest, like they were just going to tend to Avery, they weren't going to go chase after her, but you have to establish her power level, have to establish her threat. And it's quite impressive. So Ingrid cannot fly, but Solari can, so holds on to Ingrid, takes her with him, sorry. When catching up to Yaira, actually throws Ingrid at her, and Ingrid's got these whip things, and so is able to do that to grab onto Yaira, which disrupts her. And so Solari then goes in to attack her, and then also grabs Ingrid after Yaira starts falling. And then we see that Yaira summons up a storm that is powerful enough to send them into the upper atmosphere, at least sufficiently high that Solari has to tell Ingrid to hold her breath. At which point, Yaira's response is to go over and kick Ingrid in the gut so that she will obviously lose her breath. And then to deal with Solari, actually goes and kisses him, and says his Solari feels the air escape from his lungs. So yeah, and that basically ends their encounter. We don't know where Yaira ends up going, but we then cut to news footage. It just occurred to me, it's not really explained. I guess there's no reason to believe Solari was knocked out because Ingrid's just falling, and she can't fly, and this is from very high up, so yeah. Anyway, cuts to news coverage talking about some of this, which is a little interesting. Where is it? Yeah, it does have one comment that I do criticize, but I'm not criticizing the story. I'm criticizing what is in the story. Just as a comment here from the news people about how, well, Solari managed to, go toe-to-toe with Yaira before, but now they're Alpha Core. He's no longer alone. How, this should have been easy. It's like, okay. Even I understand that when you fight in a group, you can't necessarily fight at your full strength because you have to help other people, and you also need to not kill them. I mean, it's like, potentially if Solari had just gone after Yaira himself, left Ingrid behind, would have been able to do more. But he has to take care of Ingrid. She can't fly. Technically, she's a liability. She's also an asset, but she is also a liability. Solari has to cover for that. And that's going to be true whenever you would have multiple people fighting, especially multiple superpowered people, that you need to... Why am I blanking on the synergize? While you can synergize your powers together, that doesn't mean that there aren't still liabilities. I'm just trying to think, because I've not really done group battles in my stories yet. But I mean, I guess it would kind of be like in my stories, because Sam is very much immortal on top as a consequence of his powers, and it is like he doesn't need to breathe or anything either. So it's like he could just like he wouldn't even have this weakness about, having to hold his breath when Yaira was up there. He would just be able to continue to keep fighting her. But if he has to deal with, well, Solari can't breathe and Angru can't breathe, now he can't deal with Yaira. He'd have to, if he were in this situation. Now, in theory, he could just tell Solari, get her out of here, get Ingrid out of here, I'll handle this. But if that is in the situation, then yeah, that is a cost there. As useful as Ingrid's abilities might be, which really just seem to be this whip, I'm not sure what her actual ability is. Braxwell has been shown to be have super strength, I believe, in ISOM. Yeah, because I've not seen him anywhere else. Excuse me. Solari also has super strength, but also can fly, so... Yeah, it's just... You do have to start thinking about how that all works together, and this is something that you'll see in other situations as well, whenever you're dealing with multiple units, is how do you make sure they work together, so that there is the greatest advantage. But it is sometimes working together, you have disadvantages. Anyway. So the people watching the television at this time, you're seeing this news report, they're a gang of thieves, robbers, and that kind of thing. And one of them, what the hell, is a Yaira. There's no actual swearing in here. It's always replaced with, different symbols. But, yeah. And this is kind of important because that character ends up being named and being significant later, and just has no idea who Yaira is. It seems like they were doing an interview with Solari, who is not exactly the happiest about some of this. He has a line, "That's enough. This isn't a TV spot for Yaira." He's also promising to bring her to justice. And we see, like, Yaira in a Batcave kind of thing with the Bat computer, like, watching. It's actually the same channel, it looks like, just on 9 screens here. I don't really know why. Why do have it repeated 9 times? And then we cut to Projexis, which we do see Altona there, Avery's sister. And this is the company that she works for as Chief Technology Officer. And the founder of the company, Lincoln, I can never remember his last name, but because I also would not be able to pronounce it. But he introduces Dr. Sally Rodell, who is going to join them. It's like a new hire for the company. And she is a biologist and archaeologist, and this is a bit, news kind of thing introducing her. She has quite a speech that... So, as I've said before, I know some of the characters, at least by sight, because background noise has people talking about this stuff. So I also already know, then, some aspects of Yaira's identity, including that she is, at this point, at least centuries old, and is alien in origin, okay? So, that does make reading some of this speech, and by the way, all that is revealed within this story as well, but it does make the speech she gives, actually pretty well written, because she's talking... Okay, is it here or is it somewhere else? They're kind of talking... Projexis wants to work on extending human life and making sure that it's not just that you're living longer, but that you remain healthy, that the deterioration is also not occurring. Something that she just naturally enjoys. Which makes then... But so she knows what that purpose is, at least I assume so, and it's just kind of interesting to then read this and be able to read between the lines about what's going on there, about how like she is an outsider, she is centuries old, but is still making comments that for for just a human to say these things makes sense, but it's like, okay, there's another meaning here for a lot of what she says. They then bring her down into a cryogenics lab, which is part of where they are studying this, doing this work. One thing I personally find annoying, fortunately it's not too important, this lab has the potential to reach absolute zero without any of the staff inside, of course. And it's like, well, no, you can't reach absolute zero. It's one of those things where absolute zero, we don't actually know what would happen if you were to reach it. And personally, I think it's very reasonable to argue that no, if absolute zero cannot be achieved, you can get really close to it, but that it would always be in like a limit. You can't actually reach zero. You can just reach very near above it. Because one aspect that could happen, well, okay, one reason why it would make sense to me that you'd never be able to reach it is there's a minimum measurement for a lot of things. There's a Planck length is the smallest possible measurement you can make. Smaller than that is indiscernible because of the uncertainty principle, Heisenberg uncertainty principle kind of stuff, right? Excuse me. I would assume that energy is very similar. Plus, there's also, I know in a previous one I talked about subnucleonic particles and like what comprises a proton. So funny thing about that, the proton for a while had a significant mystery to it. I'm pretty sure what I know as the answer to the problem, to the mystery, is accepted. I think it is. I could be wrong about that. Because the actual total spin of the proton doesn't add up to what is measured. Like, all the known components of it don't actually add up to that. But how do we always get a measurement that's higher? Well, it's because particles will just pop into existence there, add to its spin, but then they also pop out of existence. Because that can happen at that scale. And so it's like you can have things just pop in and out of existence, which I think would defeat any effort to truly reach absolute zero, that something can just happen like that. Granted, in some cases that's like a photon, so there's already energy and it pops into other things, but it still is, you're getting down, I think it's reasonable you get down to that scale of just above absolute zero, and it's, quantum mechanics is going to start doing the wildest quantum mechanical stuff and kind of defeat your efforts. But there's also technically at absolute zero, one thing that might end up happening, we don't know, would be the collapse of the electrons in an atom into the nucleus. Because you would lose the energy that keeps them separated is exhausted, because absolute zero is not just the lowest temperature, it's actually an absence of energy. This is one reason why, like, we talk about degrees Celsius, we talk about degrees Fahrenheit. We don't talk about degrees Kelvin, because it's not degrees. It is a measurement of energy. So yeah, there would be problems there. So, but as I said, that's just me going off on a little bit. Here's some of the science, or at least the bulk of that I know is what I was saying there is true. It's more so that what would actually happen if you reach there, as far as just as I think through it now, I don't think we ever will be able to reach absolute zero. I don't think it would be possible. That's just me talking, versus the actual science. But some of what I was saying, yeah, is the actual science that I am aware of. But it's also not too relevant. It's a cryogenics lab. That's what matters here. We next see the gang with the young woman, who I don't think I had named. Her name is Stefania, though. The one who doesn't know who Yaira is at all. They're robbing the place. And she is also, well, she's robbing a location. There's a truck that just says bank on the side, which, I mean, it doesn't look like an armored truck. I don't know why you just say bank on the side. But, this isn't that projects this. At least one gang member is shot and killed. It looks like 2, maybe 3 are. She does shoot back at a guy who does fall down, but he has a tactical vest. It might also be armor, so he might live. I'm not sure. But when she herself gets shot, her reaction, her body basically reacts to activate Yaira-like powers, which cause a couple things to happen. Well, her eyes start glowing, her mouth is venting, it would technically be like frost, and then a big burst of light shoots out of her mouth, and the area around her freezes. This causes two things to happen besides her being healed. One is we see two aliens, like floating in the upper atmosphere, speaking in their own language, which, by the way, is depicted by, this is a different font, which, I mean, hey, very effective. Works very well for that. One says Yaira, poor form, old girl, says the other, because they are looking for her, and basically what's going on here is Stefania has Yaira-like powers, or the same powers as Yaira. At one point, Alpha Core does get involved and actually... Where is it? Okay, here. But actually does identify Stefania as having the same power, like same energy signature as Yaira. Yaira, however, shows up because she was confused by what was going on. Doesn't want to have to deal with Alpha Core, who is on their way. But wants to deal with Stefania, because what the heck's going on here? Doesn't know who she is or any of that. But she is finding curious just how strong Stefania is. It confuses her, she doesn't know why. Anyway, then the three... Well, two aliens plus a third arrive to fight Yaira. Where do we get their names? And this confuses everyone because they only speak in their own language. Yaira knows she has to deal with them, but is also trying to, like, say enough. But not necessarily too much. Because she isn't interested in killing Stefania, but she does need to control the situation to a degree. Okay. Yanessa, Yantoni, and Magus Numite. Those are the three aliens. First two that we saw, Yanessa and Yantoni, they are humanoid. Magus Numite is later shown as basically being this weird bug guy. So his powers are different entirely. But the other two have basically the same powers as Yaira. Maybe stronger, maybe not. The power scaling is hard to tell. It's hard to tell through this. Because for some of it... Okay. It's possible that Yaira is equal to them, or maybe even a little stronger. But equal to them, but she's not shown as that yet. Which could just be, because I think there's even a line later, she's so used to being around humans that yes, there are excepts like Solari that are very, very powerful. But she's not practiced at fighting at her, at a level equal to her. So that may be part of this here. Excuse me. But she is basically home field advantage. And so actually leads them out towards an oil derrick. And then ignites it once they are close to it, because there is actually a line. But where is it? Let me read it. If I can find it. Ah, yes. Because Yaira's abilities are cold, although this is a little weird. Anyway, you think the cold will stop us? How long have you been away? It is refreshing to the touch on this overheated, barely inhabitable rock. Which... I get characters being arrogant, but this is also arrogance to the point of stupidity. It's like barely inhabitable. It's like there's billions of people on Earth. Why are you calling it barely inhabitable? It might be barely inhabitable for you, but this is clearly a planet teeming with life. And even if you want to say, well, you're not equal to us, it's like, fine, dogs aren't equal to us either. We still count them as life. Anyway, that's a nitpick for me. But Yaira uses a lighter to detonate the oil, which severely injures the two. Well, all three, but they heal in different ways. Yaira then as Sally Rodell goes to a nursing home to see an elderly woman there, who immediately, upon seeing her, says, "Yaira, it's you." It's like, "You're a mistaken, old woman." And then the old woman introduces herself. "My name is Carmen Martinez. But do you know that, don't you, La Diosa? Diosa? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And she then shares, the old woman shares, "My great-grandmother passed down the story about a goddess who fell from heaven to earth. Do you know what happened to the goddess? After that, the goddess felt more pain than she'd ever experienced in her tortured existence. She vowed to never feel that kind of pain again." So basically what is being set up here, and as I already know that this is what's going on, this is a descendant of Yaira. And so some aspect of Yaira's existence has been passed down. And she at least knows this story that doesn't necessarily name Yaira or identify Sally as Yaira, but this woman still somehow knows that is Yaira's history. That means it is her great, however many, grandmother's history. And so when seeing somebody who resembles Yaira, is like, "Oh, I know who you are," and it's at ease. It's comfortable here. Now Yaira recognizes that her descendants would be in danger, because of these three returning. And they refer to her as a criminal. It's not clear why exactly. I don't really mind spoiling this, because the spoiler is just, why do they want her? Because she's a criminal, according to them. It's like, okay, why exactly is she a criminal? It's kind of no, it isn't irrelevant. It is important, but not right here. Maybe it comes up in the later, because it's still Yaira 2 and 3. It seems that, what was her name? The woman of the three. I'm not sure if I identified that they were. Yanessa is a woman. Yatani is a man. I got no idea what Magus Numite is. He's a bug. But Yanessa is a tyrant queen, it seems, and is very totalitarian, and Yaira apparently wanted freedom, and so left. Specifically tried to find one who is not named until the end, and that I will save. Who's not named until the end, that had escaped previously, but had escaped without trace. Yaira, there was still a trace, that's why they were able to find her. Although, technically, it was Stefania's powers manifesting that really summoned them. But, yeah, so because these descendants of her are connected to her and are viewed as abominations, they will also come for them. So Yaira brings the old woman to her home, the home of Dr. Sally Rodell, and has various treasures there that she's collected over the centuries, which actually is kind of silly. I'll explain that in a moment. But this is Stefania's grandmother, and so it's the whole, I need to find her too, and bring her here so you'll be safe. So yeah, the thing that I find a little silly is just some of the aspects of this trope. And no, is it a trope? Trope is a little too negative, I think. Cliche, though. That you see with, like Highlander. I mean, at least with Highlander, there is a setup to explain it. But there's also a television show called Forever. Oh, jeez, that was about a decade ago. I actually liked it. It should have gotten more than one season. Anyway. Where you deal with, an immortal that somehow is accumulating a treasure. You're just, like, keeping things. But is still able to pass them down. From himself to himself, in this case, herself to herself. And it's like, how? I mean, at least in Highlander, it's like technically he's an artifact dealer. An art dealer and such. So it's like he's just basically moving. He'd have to move from one country to another to hide his identity, but he can just transfer it from one art dealer to another. And do things like that. But it still becomes a bit of a problem because there is now a paper trail. There's a trail that connects the current and previous lives. And Yaira here would technically be running into the same thing. And it's just one of those, I think you would. I think ultimately what would actually be achievable for like how to have this happen in real life would be you'd have to put it in trust kind of thing, um, or like a numbered bank account, Swiss bank account kind of thing, where so long as you keep the information, it's fine with that. I'm pretty sure it's fine with them. Like if somebody if there's a 100-year-old Swiss bank account that's just numbered, but if somebody walks up to it with the number, with all the information, doesn't matter who that is. They don't. I'm not even sure if they necessarily need to verify identity at that point, because like you having the information is verification of your identity, and then you get access to it. Um, I think it would be something like that, something that on an institutional level would continue on, and you're exploiting that. So it'd be kind of like in the end of Back to the Future 2, the was it Wells Fargo? Well, it may have been Western Union, who had the letter from Doc to Marty. Then it's like, well, it was no, it would have been a law firm, actually. They had to hold on to it. And it's like, yeah, because that you expect that to carry on, and that would make more sense. But the real thing that's a problem here to me is not just that, because in theory, yeah, there are ways you can transfer, but it's still paper trail. Dr. Sally Rodell. Getting a doctorate takes time. And is she doing that every generation? Because, I mean, it's like, getting a doctorate is involved. Because not only is there a great deal of study, but it's also you have to write a doctoral thesis, which is a novel contribution to the corpus of whatever the field is. So that means you have to write a paper, and it can be a big paper, like book length, that no one else has done this research before. In theory. I'll get to that one. And is a contribution, and it is deemed, yes, you have done this at a good enough level, and is significant enough, you get your PhD. Excuse me. To achieve that, though, it's a major investment in time, and you're going to be known. It's like there are going to be records of you now. If she's constantly doing this, and it's like, is she moving from one university to another? I mean, you risk that paper trail. It's risky if you're trying to hide your identity. I mean, at least going back to Forever, because he's a medical doctor in that. He uses the place he got his degree, because he was already a doctor before he found out he was immortal. The place that he got his degree, though, is like this university that's in another country. It's kind of small. You might not have heard of it. And it's just basically it's obscure enough. It's hard to get those records. Now, true, no mention for Sally here, but it's still, if she's just lying that she's a doctor, it's like, okay, well, that's a problem because that's easy enough to check. So she'd have to establish her identity as Sally Rodell. She'd have to earn the PhD. And if she's been doing this before, there's that paper trail. So yeah, I don't know. I get why you're doing it here, but it's one of those things that my mind is technical enough. I don't see it really working out. Okay, so now we've got Stefania is with the rest of her gang, and they're like, cool, you got powers, we can use that for revenge and robbing everywhere. It's like, I skipped over that Alpha Core. Basically, they see in their sensors, okay, so there's Yaira. There's this new one that has Yaira's energy signature, but here are these two others, Yanessa and Yotani, and they can detect Pneumite, but they got no idea what's up with him. It's like, they got no energy from him, they just know we can see him. And they're going off doing their thing, over to the oil well. Stefania, Solari's like, yeah, we'll just follow her. Because we ain't handling those three. We have no idea what's going on there. But if we follow her, we know Yaira's going to come. So they go, take the gang, and then we get to see the condition of the three, with Yanessa being, well, they're all severely damaged. Yanessa is particularly pissed off about this because, well, she's not just a tyrant, she's incredibly vain. Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with tyrants. At least in Western stories, that's the case, because you need to be an effective despot. Basically, you need to self-validate. So it's like you need to be the strongest. You need to be the most intelligent. You need to be the greatest. You need to be the most beautiful. So her face being marred by the injury is an insult to her. So because it's challenging that. Itani suggests that he and she go back home to heal. There's no indication this takes any amount of time for them, which there's also no indication of any kind of ship. So I'm not really sure how that works out. Numite is going to stick around because he just, he's a bug, and it's basically he just grew a new exoskeleton, popped off the old one, and so he's fine now. Don't think that's how that should actually work. He then sends out a swarm of bugs. Altona finds one and captures it. It stabs through the steel case, but it's still something for her to study. Solari starts trying to interview Stefania to figure things out with her. And he's not as intelligent as I wish he were. Or at least, there is some of this that I feel is showing his intelligence, but also some that's really showing he's not as intelligent as I want him to be. So he is going to interrogate Stefania. And he kind of... He sees it as, okay, you're in league with her. You need to tell me everything about it. No, I'm not. Okay. Well, she wants something from you, because she only acts for selfish reasons. She wants something from you, which means she's going to come and kill you to take it. It's like, why are you going to that? Why can't you believe that it's her that Yaira... I just find it odd that this malicious attitude about Yaira. But one thing, though, that I will grant him, because I think he is also doing this, and it might just be me reading into it. Stefania's powers only just manifested. She doesn't know how to control them. And while in the interrogation room, they're going off and actually freezing the room, which he can withstand. But I suspect that he's intentionally doing that. He's trying to pressure her. He's trying to get her powers to activate like this. Because it's a way for him to learn about her. Like, if she's using her powers to try to escape intentionally, he's going to know. This shows it's not intentional. But he's also still studying, still learning what her abilities are. I'm reading into that. I think it is possible that that's what's going on here. Yeah. Then how is it, because this is like the last panel before Yaira arrives, then how is it that she was able to give you her powers? Which, why he even thinks that, I'm not sure, but anyway. Powers, I don't know what powers you're talking about. Please, Miss Martinez, they are the very powers you are now attempting to use to escape me. But I'm not doing anything. So again, this is information to Solari. That she has these powers, she doesn't know how she got them, and she's not actively trying to... She's doing something, but she's not actively trying to do it. She doesn't mean to do it. At this point, Yaira arrives at this... I'm saying this is a prison, and she's there and is just going to start lowering the temperature. Now, I forgot to mention this. I get it's the cliche, but I also find it kind of stupid, because she likes it cold. Like, she's from a cold world, is what we got from the other two talking. Why does that mean she's able to just make things cold? I mean, it's like in Thor, in the movie Thor, with the ice giants, they're able to do things with ice, but it's like, okay, well, we also know they're magical beings. And it's, like, when you see them destroyed, it's like they are legitimately made of ice, so it does, like, flow from them. Yaira seems human-ish. Yes, she's an alien, but there is some aspect of human, at least to her appearance. And also, she has to be at least sufficiently human to have children, which that's another thing that it does kind of annoy me, but I'll get to that a little later. So she's there, she's lowering the temperature, because basically, she's threatening Solari. I'm going to lower the temperature to the point that the steel of these bars can be easily shattered, and all these people will get free. Because, like, Solari isn't going to want that. Well, it's kind of a bad threat, though, because she just does that. And also, I looked it up, because, do you know what temperature steel goes from ductile to brittle? Well, I looked it up. -20 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 29 degrees Celsius. Excuse me. Bit of a problem, that, though. Because it then shows everyone just coming out and fighting. And it's like, I mean, yeah, for a little bit, you'd be able to, a human would be able to exist in that, at that temperature, but she'd have to start letting it warm up. Like, they would be harmed by this. This is frostbite area. This is like in frostbite temperatures, and they're not, no one's wearing anything suitable for that. So, that I know, I'm being technical, but it is like, it is technically a problem. Some of them are being a problem to her, but she knows how to defend herself. When Alpha Core arrives, they do bring Stefania with them, at least Solari does. He tells the other two to just start dealing with the inmates. He'll deal with Yaira, and does able to handle her somewhat, but Yaira does think a step ahead, at least in this situation. It does seem that she isn't fighting as... The suggestion is that she should be on par with him, but he is being shown as being stronger than she is, but she also knows she doesn't have to be completely strong, doesn't have to be dominant, because once he's knocked down to the ground, this prison that she just freed everyone in, it's holding people he arrested. They don't like him. So, distraction. Yaira then takes Stefania to Sally Rogers. Sally Rodell. I keep wanting to say Rogers. That's quite different. That's Rosemary. To Sally's home. And there they encounter the swarm of Pneumites bugs, which Yaira is able to use her powers to destroy. Stefania activates her powers to destroy those around her. But then they find Pneumite, who was able to find the home somehow. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be was able to track Yaira to there, or was able to actually track to Carmen, but got there and killed her. And yeah. So Stefani comes in, sees Carmen, her abuela. Solari was right. You are trying to kill me. Why did you have to get my abuela killed too? Why? She was a sweet lady. What did my family ever do to you, Yaira? Stefania, please, I can explain, but you were not safe here. You're right about that. Wait, don't go. And, I'm not dying here. I'm the last of my family now, and I'm going to live for my abuela. I hope you die, Yaira. I hate you. As she runs off, and Yaira has to deal with Pneumite. But it's just like, I mean, is this just woman brain kind of thing? Because I just see the situation as creepy bug monster that is standing over the body of the abuela, of Carmen, right? Yaira was with you and walked in here, is not near the body. Why you blame Yaira when literal monster standing by body? Is this woman brain? I don't know. I don't know, but it's just so stupid to me. Because it's like, what, I'm sorry. I'd be so tempted if Yaira would just go, you're my alibi. I didn't do this. I was with you. He did it. Obvious. How do I even need to explain this to you? I mean, it does become kind of a thing that Stefania has a hatred for Yaira. Fine. I understand you need that. I just feel, can we do it a better way? Because it's just... Anyway. Pneumite, Yaira's trying to get away. Unfortunately, Pneumite is able to attack her with a strike that is shown piercing through her. With a purple lightning strike. But as she falls, she crashes into a work zone that Pneumite isn't going to follow, so it's like, I'll just, I can wait to eat your flesh. Stefania turns herself in, and apparently Yaira decides to perform what first aid she can on herself, and then change into her Sally Rodell costume. Because that way she can get entry as that character into Projexis, and there take advantage of the cryogenic systems to heal herself. While going there, though, she encounters Altona, who... Okay, seriously, what is it with Superman glasses? Because Yaira apparently has that. Because, like, I'm Sally Rodell. I'm Yaira. Sally. Yaira. I mean, anyway, Altona sees her, doesn't realize it's even though at one point she is naked in a cryogenic tube, and still it's can't tell that's Yaira. Anyhow, but Altona does very little questions asked, helps her out. This includes actually performing the surgery, because Yaira even explains to her that like, some of this I can do myself, but you're gonna have to perform the surgery as well on me, but I need to be frozen down because that'll stop the bleeding, and just she naturally likes the cold, so it'll help. So she's being operated on by Altona. If I learn a little bit more, so Altona's husband, Terry? Terrell, okay, worked in the oil fields, and there was an accident there. That's how he died. Well, at least he died on the job, so yeah. Maybe there will be more to that. But it's still... Sally has this now willing accomplice, even though... Oh, no, yeah. How about you, Yaira? So does identify. But it's a little weird to me that Otona's like, all right, sure. I mean, I get it. I do get it. That there are people where it's like, you need help. I can help, and I'm curious, but, help you first, then can see what of my curiosity gets satisfied. I get that, but it still is just like, you're really ready to just help the tall blonde lady that you potentially only met recently and has a gaping wound in her body and is clearly an alien. It's like, you are really comfortable with this. Anyhow, after she is treated, Yaira then explains that you need to get this chemical from the chrysanthemum flower and then build this thing, because that's what will work to kill the bugs from Pneumite. We then see Stefania is with Alpha Core, who's talking with her, and again we've got Solari being very doubtful that Yaira is anything but malicious, and it's like, it just seems weird that he is so fixated on that, but at the same time, there is kind of recognition that she is too powerful for him to kill. He can stop her, but it's a draw basically every time. But the way he keeps talking about her, it's like she's an enemy to everyone. She's a threat, and it's like everyone needs to be... And it's like you're building her up in such a way that somebody around you might think, okay, we need to take her out. It's like, even you can't do that, and no one around you matches you. It's like, this is really stupid. Like, the character is stupid, and I don't know why he's doing this. Because it's... He is potentially he's preparing the fuel for a fire that might go off, is how this reads to me. And it's just, I don't know why. I feel he should be more intelligent than this. He might not like Yaira, but I just feel he should keep his mouth shut more. Anyway, Yaira, having been sufficiently healed at this point, decides to basically summon everyone, and I'll hold this up. So she's just making a massive storm, and down here we have Rippaverse Comics, because why not? She figures if she causes a blizzard here, that will summon Alpha Core, but it will also summon the people that are after her, and basically get all of them together. And yeah, I'll make it nice and easy for them to find me. If I play this right, I'll take out two birds with one stone, one storm. She makes a joke of. The three aliens are first to return. Yaira Yanessa and Yantoni, anyway, are both in armor now because, well, they basically realize that, oh, they're not gonna have an easy time with Yaira. And they are continuing to be just incredibly arrogant, and not nearly as mentally prepared for this as they should be. And it's this Queen Yanessa. She's she's a vain tyrant. She just like, how dare you even speak to me? And it's like, it's kind of going back to when I went through the Empire Strikes Back novelization and why I criticized the use of, at one point in there, Vader referred to the rebels as rebel scum. And I went off on the use of the word scum there, because Vader should be intelligent enough to know not to do that. Because when you start doing that, when you start thinking that way, you start underestimating your foes. And Vader is consistently, except for that, consistently displayed as being intelligent enough to know not to do that. And he never says anything like that again in that story. That one word just should have been deleted. Never should have been allowed to go to print in that. At least in my opinion. Here, she's not. There's no reason to believe Yanessa here is actually that intelligent. So, it is consistent with her character, basically. But it is also a weakness to her. And so while they're fighting Yaira, and Yaira is kind of sort of matching them, even though it's 3-on-1, it's also, what she wanted to have happened. In that Alpha Core arrives, and Braxwell has a rocket launcher, has a shoulder-fired missile launcher, and shoots at the three. And because she knew that, I don't necessarily get along with them, but they're not gonna put up with you either. Which then leads to something. I mean, yes, they all start fighting. Yaira still wants to try to protect Stefania, but there is one issue that ends up coming up. In that she's the only one that speaks both the alien language and English, and also Spanish, which comes up. And he's just, I don't know why he's doing this. So Yaira also speaks Spanish and starts trying to tell Stefania to basically relax. I'll explain everything to you. But we first do have Solari. Brilliant strategy. Yaira has the strategic advantage, being the only one to speak both languages, but why? So he's being paranoid here. It's like, okay, I can kind of see that, but I was like, the but why could just be because she's an alien from their world. I mean, it's like, what do you know about Yaira? Why can't you just believe that they just speak a common language? I mean, they have power similar to her. There's already linking here. Them speaking the same language shouldn't be that much of a leap, dude. But yeah, then in Spanish, Yaira is saying, Stefania, I don't want to hurt you. I knew Carmen, your abuela, well. I loved her. I lost her too. What? Like I should trust you because you can speak Spanish? So one thing little confusing here. I knew your abuela well. I mean, in theory, she has been watching Carmen, and that's how she knows who she is, but yeah. Anyway, it continues. Just give me a chance to explain, and I'll tell you everything you want to know. Can you live without knowing? What do you have left to lose? Just your life. Stefania, run and hide. Now Solari's talking. As long as you're here, Yaira won't retreat. Kinda. You think you're the only one that's bilingual, Yaira? Cute tactic to command your friends without alerting us to what you're saying. And it's like, dude, why are you going to... You literally arrived here with them fighting Yaira. Why are you going to... Oh, you're friends. This is... I do believe he, at other times, is showing his intelligence. That he should be able to understand what's going on here and be like, okay, let's touch these buttons. Don't push them, but touch these buttons and see what happens. But here it's like, just full on. Nah, I'm an idiot. It's like, oh, you two are near each other, therefore you must be friends. Even though you're trying to kill each other, you must be friends. What the hell's wrong with that? I am, for what it's worth, I'm glad that he is such a side character in this. Alright, anyway, At about the same time as this is going down, Altona finishes the device that's able to wipe out the bugs, which Numite, I keep wanting to say Numenite, I'm not sure why, it just feels a little easier to say, I guess. But Numite is like, my children, my babies, no! Which is also a little odd, because if that's the case, then shouldn't he be susceptible to the same poison, essentially, the same device, but... No indication is given, by the way, for how the three escape Alpha Core. I mean, I get that they are very powerful, and so should be able to overcome Alpha Core, but it's still not depicted. Because also, why would they just leave and not just kill Alpha Core? I mean, I get it's happening off page, but there's still some need for explanation here. Anyhow, Yaira takes Stefania to Altona, who then locks her up in a way that basically suggests it doesn't matter how powerful she isn't going to get out, and what's more, Alpha Core won't be able to find her. We then get history on Yaira, and I'm just... Okay, I guess it's... So she was flying, and I'm assuming she's going to... After flying around for a bit, she goes and visits Solari's house, but we are mainly getting her backstory here. This beautiful planet is so distracting. I had heard of this place in legend. I didn't even know if Earth existed, until I landed on it in a place called Iceland. I was there to find him, but I let the amazement get the better of me. Never felt safe in my whole life. I had never been free. So, what's going on here... Well, here, let me just continue. It was there that I met Gorm, who... he who worships God, which actually I just realized I need to... I kept putting him in as Grom, not Gorm. There. So just fix that in my notes. And it's... I actually remember hearing this being talked about in the background noise things, but basically, tall, blonde, naked woman falls out of the sky, crashes in front of you. This dude just walks up and is apparently like, wife. I mean, I can understand that. But we also get this, that, my life had only been battle up until that point. He offered me a new experience. In his arms, I felt something that I had never felt before. Love. I had been starving for it. I let myself drown in it. She joins the tribe and is, well, she's not only just super strong and all that, but she's trained for battle already, so she fits in nicely. And soon enough, does marry him. But we do also have, I learned how to pray from them and tried to speak to who they called a god on this planet. Him never answered me. I gave up searching. Okay, I guess that... Okay. It's a little odd how some of this is being written. So the implication here, as I look at it again, is that Gorm is praying to the other who had escaped prior to Yaira and who she was looking for. Just how this is written out here. I learned how to pray from them and tried to speak to who they called a god on this planet. Him. And it's like, him is how it had been referred to before for who she was searching for. But I do also find it curious, the whole... It was there that I met Gorm, he who worships God. It just says God, though. It's singular, and it's like... The Norse people, I'm pretty sure, they went from the pagan Norse mythology to Christianity. They would not... You would refer to them as worshipping gods pagan. Even if they focus on just one, they recognized all of them. So yeah, that seems odd. Seems quite odd to me. Because there are other things here that indicate no, that it's the pagan religion, or a pagan religion. It's not Christianity, so it doesn't make much sense to me how this is being described here. Shows that they apparently the wedding ceremony there involves exchanging swords. For whatever reason, the one she gives him glows green. This is just not explained. It's also worth noting when she crashed there, she was naked. It's not like this is an alien sword. She didn't bring it with her to give. So I got no idea. Oh, and also in the background we do see a volcano there, and it was mentioned earlier as well. This comes up later. Yeah, she ends up having, multiple children. Son Njord. Then had Baldur, Ragnar, Sigrid, twin girls Astrid and Freya, and Tyr was her youngest, or their youngest, I should say. None of them had my powers, but they were my children. And then it depicts the whole life moving on around her, but her not aging, including seeing not just her husband Gorm dying, but her children and grandchildren, and describes that she left before the great-grandchildren started dying. She then goes... We then cut to the present. In her meeting Solari, although I guess you should go back and... I know it's... I love Star Trek, but it still is... It's one thing that when you stop and think about it, the whole mixing of species makes no sense. Why would Spock, a half human, half Vulcan, be possible? And what's more, I was thinking about it a few weeks ago. He shouldn't have green blood. So in humans, mitochondrial DNA, mitochondria is part of what's in every cell of your body. That only is passed down from the mother, because the ovum is more or less a complete cell. It's not. It still needs the sperm. It still needs the other half of the chromosomes to finish and develop into a human life. But because it's a otherwise full cell and the sperm is not, it has the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, the only DNA it has, which is separate from your normal chromosomes, it comes just from the mother, so it only follows that line. Which would mean then that, and it's also like, Amanda is the name of Spock's mother. So say he would have to have her mitochondrial DNA. And because it's like she, while in the womb, was feeding him directly through her own blood and such, it makes no sense that, and it's not like she could consume copper, because that's why Vulcans have green blood. It doesn't make sense that she would be able to consume that safely. It's ridiculous. And it's technically here as well. It doesn't make sense that Yaira would be able to conceive children with a human. I get the whole doing that because it allows for certain things to happen, because such half-breeds can be interesting because of the whole, bridge between species and all that. And, someone being in both worlds. I get that, but it still is one of those that there are implications from this. At least for somebody who starts overthinking it like I do. Anyway, Yaira goes sees Solari and does explain. And also does say that, yeah, I'll tell you where you can find Stefania. But is basically saying that, yeah, she doesn't want Stefania to die. This whole thing's going, that's of my making. I want her out of it. Yeah. Who is she to you? Does she even know? What Solari asks. Swear to me and you'll never see me again. It's like, I don't know how he can make that promise. He does. But I don't know how, because it's like, I mean, to the reader's knowledge, he's the only one on the planet that can stop you. If you continue to exist on Earth, and you do something, he's going to appear. Or at least there's a good chance he will appear, because he's the only one that can do anything about you. Anyway. She does eventually say, she is a child of the children of my children. She doesn't know me or what she is. I do have a friend, and if you harm her, my ghost will come back to haunt you. And as she leaves, Sly's just like, you have children? And then she needs to pay for her crimes, but if we attempt to apprehend her, the fight will be perpetual. I'm not foolish, she will return, but this is the best case scenario. So Yaira has her plan, which is to go back to Iceland for a time, and summon the three to fight. And then we get a flashback, which I will say I do like how this is structured with this fight, where we are getting flashes back to her history, because it helps connect and show how she is thinking through all this. Excuse me, and potentially also setting up, to a degree, a death wish for her. That it's like she's thinking about her old life, which isn't necessarily a happy way to see yourself continue in life. Well, not necessarily a death wish, but at least an acceptance that she might die here. She's not going to make it easy, but she might die. But she's basically out hunting with her two. It looks like it's the twins. But is sharing with them a story. Kalis, or Salus, the supreme sky god's rule was noted by unspeakable tyranny. His very own son Saturn overthrew him to usurp the role of supreme deity. However, Saturn was warned that he too would suffer the same fate of being overthrown by one of his children. Every child that Saturn made with his wife, the Earth Mother Ops, he ate. He ate Neptune as soon as he was born. He gobbled up all of his brothers and sisters too. Ew. Why, Mother, would he do such a thing? Because people do crazy things to keep their power from others. That's Greco-Roman mythology. To my knowledge, that's not Norse mythology. My familiarity with Norse mythology is not as extensive, but I mean, even using the name Saturn, that his other name is Kronos. And yeah, he killed his father. Zeus defeated him. Whether or not he killed him or not is... Sometimes I do see it where it's more he was eternally trapped, rather than killed, but still defeated. And I think it is also that Zeus defeated him because that was a way to prevent the cycle from repeating, that Zeus would not be defeated by his son because he didn't actually kill his father. So anyway, I don't know why this is supposed to be Norse mythology. Like, they're in Iceland. It's a Nordic people. Why is it Greek mythology being shared here? So it's like that's kind of odd, unless it is just she's sharing her own history. But still, there's something I'll get to a little later that is confusing there. They all do battle. Numite is kind of funny at one point because he, how's this? How unfortunate that these reminders of home, because he's like summoning down these crystal things to form into giants to attack her. Of home chase you across the universe, which, so strong, hard, and pure, all things you will never be. Does their perfection remind you of your iniquities? Perhaps that's why you ran. You dumbass. They are called diamonds on this planet. People give them as tokens of love and commitment. They don't frighten me. They remind me of how weak and stupid you are. And it's like... I mean, they're all arrogant. All three of them are very arrogant, because it's... they have no understanding, no appreciation for this world that they've come to. But while they are... she has led them to the side of the volcano, because she's then going to use her power to basically cause it to erupt, because none of them like high temperatures. And she, in fact... yeah. Why are you freezing yourself to me? Yeah, Tony, the guy. I'm not. I'm absorbing nitrogen, turning it into its liquid form and pumping it through my body. I have an internal temperature of minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm hoping that's enough. This isn't quite how it would work, but basically, once the volcano, she then slams him into the volcano so it fully erupts, but is trying to lower her own body temperature to withstand the heat. Which, if all you're worried about is the heat, that makes sense. But there's also force from volcanoes. But anyhow, this successfully kills both Yanessa and Yatoni. With, hang on, I'm just. Okay, I guess we are seeing there. With even the comment, because Yanessa is like, peasant, I die, a hero, others will come for you. And Yaira points out that they're not even going to know where your body is. They ain't coming. I mean, we'll see, but Newmite is then continuing to attack. It's a little weird that, did you forget my invulnerability to magics? That lava is magic? Anyhow, but she has a plan still, because that sword that she had given Gorm all those centuries earlier is there, and she grabs that and just uses that to hack him apart. I mean, that'll work. But, still, isn't that convenient that just happened to have the sword there? I actually didn't even think about that until now. But now the volcano's erupting, and she doesn't want that to happen, so she does what she can to try to stop it. It still explodes, but hopefully isn't going to hurt anyone. She falls into the water, which is actually helpful. The icy water cools my wounds. And before she would completely die, it seems, or she's losing consciousness at least, we see a figure floating there holding a trident, so Neptune. Because he is the one she had been looking for, the one who had escaped without trace. We then see Stefania in prison, and there's the suggestion that she might be transferred to J. Sully Ward. I would still like that to be explained. We briefly saw it in ISOM 3, but I mean, it's presumably a place that holds excepts. Okay, how? Why is it this one place? What's the history there? It's like, I'd like that information. But Solari offers her something that, basically, look, you can go to prison, or you can join us. Which might be he's protecting her, preparing her, but it might also be because if Yaira ever comes back, she's going to come for you. That means I'll be here. Which, I mean, that kind of aligns with him, but I don't know, there's also this part of me that I feel it should mostly be he's trying to protect her. Because he may feel a certain degree of respect and loyalty towards Yaira. Because he can't see her as a peer on power. They don't agree, they don't align, but still is this is, when it comes to having somebody to talk to about being this powerful, that's all he's got. Yaira then wakes up in this underwater temple-like area, which, no explanation for, she's just fine breathing underwater. But she is in the armor that we actually see on the cover, and is also looking at the cover art, in that. So she finally has that on, because apparently while unconscious, Neptune he tended her wounds and also dressed her in that. Okay. So she did see him. He is here. And she now sees a statue of him there, but does not doesn't know where he is, so is still going to have to find him. And just going back a little bit, it was suggested that Gram prays to God. It suggests praying to Neptune. But again, it's Neptune isn't in Norse mythology. That's like Greco-Roman. That's Mediterranean. Norse mythology would be Germanic, which very different from Mediterranean, and also like the North Sea, right? Isn't that? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, the North Sea. It's like that. there's not a connection there. Why would he? It doesn't make sense to me unless you're going to say that, well, Norse mythology itself doesn't exist here. It was only Greco-Roman throughout Europe. And it's like, okay, I mean, you can say that, but say it. We then see that in the snow, people playing in the snow, and kids, I should say, playing in the snow. Autona's looking out. The snow stopped falling. Does that mean are coming back, Sally? Should be, are you coming back, Sally? They won't be back. And then we get Lincoln, who's looking at the alien insect, trying to figure stuff out about that. But it's also, somebody at my company figure out how to eradicate them. How? Who's got secrets at my company? And then we see Stefan. This is months later now. Stefania is learning to use her powers, with Solari teaching her, or at least guiding her as best he can. Does make the point that when you're able to, your control over your powers seems optimal when you're able to control, when you maintain control over your emotions. What the hell is that supposed to mean, old man? It's a compliment, child. Let it also serve as a warning. When you lose control, you lose. But then we still get the whole, what happened to my abuela? I will never forgive Yaira for. She took my only family away. If you ever see Yaira again, I'm going to kill her. On my life, I'll be the one to kill Yaira. And it's just, Yaira's actually like floating up by them listening to this, but I'd have to neutralize you. Unless you want to go back to prison, you'd better control your emotions. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but what? Why does she think this? I don't understand why people think this. So I am really coming to a conclusion here. I am not a comic book person. I'm still giving this a 3. A straight recommendation for now. I might change it. I've actually already written up the Norfolka and Zalen reviews because multiple parts to this review. Already written those 2 up, and I actually decided going through all of it. I downgraded Zalen because like no, I'm writing too much. This is frustrating me too much. All those issues. So I might change this, and I might end up bumping up ISOM some. We'll see. But I felt good reading this. I really did. I don't feel what criticisms I shared here, like that whole why does it seem like, are you coming back, Sally? Just are coming back, Sally? It's like, are you? It's, how that slipped by, I don't know. That one's actually kind of funny to me. But and some of the issues. Hang on. Yeah, biggest criticism is Solari's apparent lack of intelligence with interpreting Yaira's actions and things happening around her. I know I hit the U. Why is it not? There we go. So it's like, yeah, that does annoy me. That really does. But kind of also is what it is thing. Because he's a side character, but it's still, he should be better than this. It just doesn't make sense for him to be that stupid. But I'm giving you a straight recommendation because I am enjoying it. I don't feel like I have as many issues with it as I even did with the ISOMs. Which I did also enjoy, because I give those 2 weak recommendations. Maybe I'll bump those up. Maybe I'll bump this one down to that. I don't know. I think I did like this one better, though. I think I did like this better. We'll see how I like Yaira 2 and 3. But I will say, I despite how much I've read, I'm now past halfway, I have not had any of these stories connect with me yet. Not like when reading through Return of the Jedi and getting to where, like they're trying to convince the Ewoks to join them. It's like I was feeling connection there. The throne room scene, I felt a connection. For almost all of the Wrath of Khan novelization, I felt a connection through all that. Search for Spock. I at times felt a connection, not always. It wasn't as good as Wrath of Khan, but I felt a connection. I haven't felt a connection for any of these stories. And yeah, I guess it is just I'm not a comic book guy. I can still appreciate them. Don't get me wrong, but it's... I'm mapping recommendation here to things that would I... stepping back a little. So, a strong recommendation from me means I'm like, hey, you gotta read this. That's not possible. Thus far, that's not possible for me to have you, because that requires me having a connection. I'm not feeling it at all for any of this. And I suspect that will not happen in the future. I could be wrong. Be great if I'm wrong. So 3 would probably be best, the straight recommendation. But it's still, I'm not really feeling the connection even there that I should to give it a 3, but I'm also feeling like it's still earning it. That I still think it is good enough. I am enjoying it. I'm just lacking that connection. And I do feel that that's ultimately just going to be not a comic book guy. So I'll be finishing off this. Maybe I'll be proven wrong as I keep going. I'll then have to figure out what I'm going to do with this, with the book. Because it's kind of big and I don't really have very many places to put it. But I should also acknowledge this. Not Rippaverse, but I do have, for reasons, some other comics on the way. Somebody else entirely, different kind of story as well from any of these. I'll probably still try to go through those to do these videos in, but that may be weeks or months away. And yeah, we'll just, wait and see how that ends up going. But I will still try to get, I will still give those a chance, but I have a feeling that I won't bother with doing comics again. Or, well, I'm just thinking, because I have read some manga. Would I do any of those? I don't know. Because the ones I've read, yeah, I could feel connections to, but I don't know. It would depend. Because one thing that manga have that's an advantage over this is these are all different stories. It's like, we just had Isam. Now we're doing Yaira. We're going to have Alpha Core later, Horseman, Bloodruth. We had earlier Zaylan. It's like all these different stories. That whole cast of characters there with their own stories. But in a manga, it tends to follow, like, it tends to be like just one story following one character, group of characters through a long period of time. So that actually might be part of what's helpful to me. What helps make it connect with me. So I don't know, maybe I would do that. But I'm in no way committing to it. That's me just rambling. And I really should just hit stop. Stop recording. Because this is already plenty long. It's plenty late. I've been so tired of late. And this is not helping my being up this late. Alright. But yeah, I think I could believe I'll end up either bringing the Isams up from, because I think all those I gave a 2. So a weak recommendation. I might end up bumping those up to 3. Maybe I'll bump this down to 2. We'll see. But thus far, no, I'd still say that, yeah, I am liking this better than Isam. Any of the 3 Isams. Yeah. I think I can definitely say it. So we'll see. Maybe, hopefully, Yaira 2 and 3 will be just as good or better. We'll find out. See you next time.